Hello everyone. Today is a very special day for me and a very special day for a little boy that's turned 5 today. My first grandson, Solomon. And Solomon, this is your book that got left here and we're keeping it safe for you. And you're a curious little boy just like George, so I thought you would like one of the stories from this book. And we picked out the closest book we could to a birthday party, and it's a party for a little dog. And you're not a dog, you're a sweet little boy, but you like puppies, so hopefully you like this story. It's called Curious George and the Surprise Party. This is George. He was a good little monkey and always very curious. One morning, George and his friend made a long list of stores to visit. They were throwing a party for their friend Charky. That's a funny name. The party was going to be a surprise. George and the man went into town for supplies. They needed snacks, drinks, and decorations too. Charky was going to be so happy. "Hello, Mrs. R," the man said. George couldn't believe his eyes. It was their neighbor, Mrs. R, and Charky was with her. "Hello, Charky," the man said. "Isn't today your birthday?" "Happy birthday, Charky." George was nervous. He did not want to do anything to spoil Charky's surprise. "That was close, George," the man whispered. "I was scared I was going to say something about the party and give away our surprise." George thought it was funny that he and the man had worried about the same thing. George and the man waved to all of their neighbors on the walk. They saw the mail carrier, the police officer, and a bunch of kids riding the school bus. "It will be such a nice surprise for Charky to find everyone at her house tonight," the man whispered again. George and the man stopped at the fruit stand first. The stand had lots of good things to eat. Apples, cherries, cucumbers, and George's favorite, bananas. Mrs. R and Charky came too. Mrs. R looped Charky's leash over the fire hydrant while she did her shopping. See? George knew Charky loved oranges. I've never heard of a dog eating oranges, have you? So he decided to choose a few of those for the party. But oh, when George picked up one orange, the rest of the oranges tumbled after it. George was glad his favorite fruit was not a good rolling shape. George was glad his favorite fruit was not a good shape for rolling. He helped put the oranges back as best as he could and chose a bunch of bananas for his lunch. The man was very busy saying hello to their friends from down the street. Mrs. R was very busy choosing the shiniest apples. George was very busy examining the bananas. And no one saw Charky staring at the kitten. Where's the kitten? Oh, I see it. Do you see the kitten?
No.
Up here.
I thought it was somewhere down.
No one saw Charky wriggle her leash loose from the hydrant. And no one, not even George, who was very good at noticing important things, saw Charky dash off. George, the man, and Mrs. R walked to the post office to pick up some packages. The man had sent away for Charky's birthday present. George knew it was a nice new collar. George thought Charky would love the present Mrs. R had sent away for a whole box of sweet biscuit bones. George thought he heard a bark and a meow outside the post office, but he was thinking about how much Charky would like the bones and didn't wonder if the bark could be Charky's. George the man and Mrs. R went back to the fruit stand to meet up with Charky. But when they arrived at Charky's hydrant, George noticed something was wrong. "Oh no," Mrs. R said. "Charky ran away." George felt awful. They could not have a party for Charky if Charky was missing. And what if they could not find her? Mrs. R would be so sad, and George would be sad too. George decided to look and look until he found Charky. He looked everywhere, under the oranges at the fruit stand, because they are Charky's favorite, And behind the counter at the post office, maybe Charky followed the scent of the biscuit bones there. George could think of only one other thing Charky liked better than oranges and biscuit bones: the park. When George the man and Mrs. R arrived at the park, they did not see Charky. Had she burrowed in the sandbox? Was she hiding in the playhouse? Had she chased a squirrel up the tree? George looked and looked, but he couldn't find Charky anywhere. Where could she be? Asked the man. What if we can't find her before nightfall? Asked Mrs. R. I am so worried. But George thought he saw something. It looked like a little bit of wagging tail poking out of the bushes. Charky, Mrs. R. said as George lifted a branch. And it was her. Charky was back, safe and sound. You did it, George, said the man. You found Charky and saved the day. George felt very happy. That night, all their friends from the neighborhood came over to George's house. George and the man had set up everything for the party. When Charky and Mrs. R finally arrived, Charky gave a big yip of surprise. Happy birthday, Charky, they all sang. Mrs. R smiled. The man scratched Charky behind the ears. George gave Charky a big monkey hug. It was a perfect surprise party. That's the end of that one. And here's another one I picked out for you, Solomon. This is actually your book too, and it's very special for your birthday. Just in case you ever wonder. Long, long ago, God made a decision, a very important decision, one that I'm really glad He made. He made the decision to make you. The same hands that made the stars made you. The same hands that made the canyons made you. The same hands that made the trees and the moon and the sun made you. That's why you are so special. God made you. He made you in a very special way. He made your eyes so that they would twinkle. He made your mouth so you would smile. He made your laugh so you could giggle. God made you like no one else. If you looked all over the world, in every city, in every house, there would be no one else like you. No one with your eyes, no one with your mouth, no one with your laugh. You are very, very special. And since you are so special, God wanted to put you in just the right home, where you'd be warm when it's cold, where you'd be safe when you're afraid, where you'd have fun and learn about heaven. So after lots of looking for just the right family, God sent you to me, and I'm so glad He did. I'll never forget the first time I saw you. Your eyes were closed, your fingers were curled in two little fists. Your cheeks were puffy and round. I knew in my heart that God had sent someone very wonderful for me to take care of. Your first night with me, I heard every sound you made. I heard you gurgle. I heard you sniff. I heard your little lips smack. I heard you cry when you wanted to eat. And I fed you. You're bigger now and do more things. You can walk and run. You can play and talk. You can eat and sing and look at books. You're not a little baby anymore. But as you grow and change, some things will stay the same. I'll always love you. I'll always hug you. I'll always be on your side. And I want you to know that, just in case you ever wonder. Remember, I'm here for you. On dark nights when you hear noises in your closet, call me. When you see monsters in the shadows, call me. On hard days when kids are mean and don't treat you like they should, come to me. If your grades are bad and your teacher is mad, come to me, 'cause I love you, and I always will. just in case you ever wonder. Most of all, I'll be here to teach you about God. He loves you. He protects you. He and his angels are always watching over you. And God wants me to make sure you know about heaven. It's a wonderful place. There are no tears there, no monsters, and no mean people. Look at, he's looking at the moon. You never have to say goodbye or good night or I'm hungry. You never get cold or sick or afraid. Look at, what are they doing?
Baking cookies.
That's fun. In heaven, you are so close to God that he will hug you just like I hug you. It's going to be wonderful. I will be there too, I promise. We will be there together forever. Remember that just in case you ever wonder. You are very special, Solomon. We just want to say happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
And here's our Bible story for tonight. We're reading about grandfather Abraham. Long ago lived a man named Abram. His family was very rich. They had sheep and goats and cattle and donkeys and camels. And one day God spoke to Abram. Abram, I want you to leave your father's home and go to a new land. I have chosen you to be the great-great-great-grandfather of many people. You and your family will bring my blessing to all the world. Abram believed that what God said was true. He set out at once with his wife Sarai, his family, and his animals. How'd you like to have a camel?
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Yeah.
They reached the land of Canaan. You can make your home here, said God. It was a good land, but Abram had to find grass for his animals. They had to keep on moving from place to place. Life was often hard. Sometimes it made them sad. I wonder if what God said is really true, thought Abram. One dark night, God spoke to Abram again. Look up at the stars in the sky. Too many to count, said God. You will be the great-great-great-grandfather of many people. Too many to count. And Abram believed that what God said was true. I am going to give you and Sarai new names, said God. You will be Abraham, great-great-great-grandfather Abraham, and your wife will be Sarah, great-great-great-grandmother Sarah. Many years passed. Abraham and Sarah still had no children. Abraham sighed. Can I still believe that what God said will come true, he said. Sarah looked at other people's children and sighed. I find it hard to believe that what God said is true, she said. She was getting sad. Then at last, Sarah and Abraham had a baby, and they called him Isaac. God has made me so happy that I can laugh again, said Sarah. And she knew that one day she was going to be the great-great-great-grandmother of many people. This is a time to be happy, said Abraham. Now we know that what God says is true. He was sure that one day he was going to be the great-great-grandfather of many people. We can always trust in God that what he says will come true.
Yep.
Even if we have to wait for it, right?
Yep.
Good night.
Good night.